Ignoring a woman sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Society has conditioned us to believe that constant attention and validation are the keys to winning someone over. But what if I told you that knowing when and how to ignore a woman is one of the most powerful psychological tools you can use to shift the dynamic in your favor? Here's the truth. People value what they can't easily have. It's a universal principle. When you're constantly available, you unintentionally signal that your time and energy aren't valuable. On the other hand, when you pull back strategically, it creates a vacuum that makes her question, wonder, and ultimately crave your attention. The art of ignoring isn't about manipulation. It's about creating space for her to feel your absence, to notice what life is like without you filling every moment. Let's be clear, this isn't about ghosting or completely cutting someone off. It's about subtlety and timing. Ignoring someone effectively doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop over-investing. For instance, think about the times you've been overly eager, texting back instantly, saying yes to every plan, or constantly checking in. Did it ever make you feel more appreciated, or did it leave you feeling taken for granted? That's because too much availability kills curiosity and intrigue. Here's where dark psychology comes into play. Ignoring a woman, when done with intent, taps into deep psychological triggers. It disrupts the normal flow of interaction and forces her to confront an unsettling truth. Your world doesn't revolve around her. This small but powerful realization shifts the dynamic, making her see you as someone who values himself and doesn't need constant validation. Let's dive deeper into why this works. One word: scarcity. When something becomes scarce, its perceived value skyrockets. This isn't just a dating principle, it's human nature. By withholding your attention strategically, you create a sense of scarcity. She begins to wonder why you're not as available as before. Are you busy? Are you losing interest? These unanswered questions create tension, and that tension is the foundation of attraction. But here's the thing, ignoring a woman effectively requires balance. It's not about being cold or cruel. It's about demonstrating self-respect, focusing on your own priorities, and letting her see that your life is full and fulfilling, with or without her. This balance is where the art comes in. When done right, it's not just a power play. It's a way to shift the dynamic, spark intrigue, and ultimately deepen her respect and attraction for you. Now let's break down how to implement the art of ignoring without crossing into harmful or toxic territory. This isn't about manipulation, it's about maintaining your power and balance in the dynamic. The first step? Understand when to pull back and why. Think of a situation where she's taking your presence for granted. Maybe she's not replying to your messages with the same enthusiasm you are. Or perhaps she's started canceling plans at the last minute, assuming you'll just reschedule without a second thought. These moments are opportunities to subtly shift the dynamic. Instead of chasing her attention or trying harder to please her, you simply stop. You stop initiating conversations, stop being overly available, and stop putting in more effort than she is. This isn't about punishing her. It's about recalibrating the energy in the relationship. When she notices that your attention isn't a given, she'll start questioning what changed. This curiosity works in your favor because it pulls her into your frame. Suddenly she's wondering what you're up to, why you're not texting back as quickly, or why you're no longer always the first to reach out. This brings us to a key principle in dark psychology: intermittent reinforcement. Studies have shown that people are more drawn to unpredictable rewards than consistent ones. Think about gambling. Players keep coming back because they never know when they'll win. The same applies here. If you're constantly available, your attention becomes predictable and, frankly, boring. But when you pull back and give her your attention selectively, it becomes something she values and looks forward to. Let's be practical. Suppose you've been messaging her consistently every day. One day, you decide not to initiate the conversation. You're not rude or dismissive if she reaches out, but you let her take the lead. This subtle shift in behavior speaks volumes. It says, "I'm not going to chase you because I value my time and energy." And trust me, that's a message she'll hear loud and clear. But remember, timing is everything. Ignoring her when she's being attentive or genuinely reaching out isn't the move. It sends mixed signals and can create unnecessary conflict. The art lies in knowing when to step back and when to re-engage. If she starts putting in more effort, you reciprocate, but never overcompensate. What's fascinating about this approach is how it changes her perception of you. When you're not always accessible, you start to seem like a man with purpose, a man who's busy building his life and won't drop everything at the drop of a hat. That sense of ambition and self-respect is incredibly attractive. It shifts the dynamic from her feeling like she has all the control to realizing that your attention is something she has to earn. Now, let's delve into the psychological effects of ignoring a woman and how it subtly reshapes her perception of you. When done correctly, ignoring taps into the emotional core of what makes people crave connection. This approach works not because it's manipulative, but because it activates a natural human response to uncertainty and perceived loss. Here's how it works. People, including women, are naturally wired to desire what feels just out of reach. This is rooted in psychology, specifically the principle of reactance. Reactance occurs when someone feels their freedom to choose is being restricted. They instinctively want to regain what they think they're losing. By pulling back, you trigger this reaction. Suddenly, your attention, which she might have taken for granted, becomes something she wants to reclaim. Let's put this into a real-life context. Imagine you've been giving her consistent attention, texting her often, being the first to call, always being there when she needs something. Over time, this consistent availability creates a sense of predictability. She knows you'll always be there, and while that might feel like the right thing to do, it actually lowers the perceived value of your attention. Now, picture this. You start responding less quickly, not because you're angry or playing games, but because you're genuinely busy or prioritizing your own goals. You stop liking every social media post or sending constant good morning messages. At first, she might not notice, but over time, she will. She'll begin to wonder, why isn't he texting me like before? Is something going on? That sense of curiosity, that feeling of uncertainty, it works in your favor. This is where emotional investment comes into play. By creating a slight gap, you invite her to step into the space you've left open. If she values the connection, she'll start making more effort to bridge that gap. She'll text you first, initiate plans, or engage in ways she didn't before. This shift happens because she starts perceiving your attention as a privilege rather than a given. But here's the nuance. The way you ignore her matters. If you pull back in a way that feels spiteful or dismissive, it'll push her away. However, if you do it with a calm, confident demeanor, it creates intrigue instead of resentment. This is the art of ignoring. It's not about being aloof or uncaring. It's about showing that you're a man with his own life, goals, and priorities. And let's not forget the long-term benefits of this approach. By demonstrating that you don't need constant validation from her, you set the foundation for a healthier dynamic. It becomes clear that you're not the kind of person who will tolerate being disrespected or undervalued. This isn't just attractive, it's magnetic. Women respect men who respect themselves first. Now let's address the delicate balance between ignoring and re-engaging. Ignoring is most effective when paired with well-timed attention. Think of it like pushing and pulling. You create intrigue by pulling back, but you keep the connection alive by re-engaging at just the right moments. This is where the real art comes in, ensuring that your approach feels natural and not calculated. Once she starts making more effort, texting you first, seeking your attention, or showing a noticeable change in her behavior, it's important to acknowledge her efforts subtly. For instance, if she sends a thoughtful message or asks to spend time with you, respond positively but without overdoing it. A simple, genuine acknowledgement lets her know that you see her effort without making her feel like she's back in control. Timing is crucial here. If you ignore for too long, she might lose interest or feel disrespected. On the other hand, if you re-engage too quickly, you risk undoing the tension you've built. The key is to read her cues. If she starts leaning in, that's your signal to lean in slightly, but not all the way. Here's an example. Suppose she texts you after a day of silence on your end. Instead of responding instantly with a flood of messages, you reply after some time with a thoughtful, engaging message. This keeps the dynamic balanced and ensures that your attention remains valuable. It's like giving her a sip of water when she's thirsty, not drowning her with it. This balance also reflects your emotional intelligence. Ignoring isn't about being cold or unfeeling. It's about creating space for mutual respect and attraction to grow. When you re-engage after a period of detachment, you show her that while you're independent and self-assured, you still value the connection. This contrast between distance and closeness is what keeps things exciting and unpredictable. Finally, let's talk about the long-term power and impact of mastering the art of ignoring and how it sets you apart in ways most men overlook. This isn't just about the short-term game of sparking her interest or creating temporary intrigue. It's about fundamentally shifting the way you approach relationships, self-worth, and attraction. When you embrace the art of ignoring as a tool of self-respect, you're not just influencing her, you're transforming yourself. Most people think ignoring is solely about making her wonder why you're pulling away. But the deeper effect lies in how it rewires your mindset. By stepping back when needed, you learn to detach your sense of value from someone else's attention or validation. You stop chasing and start focusing on yourself, your goals, passions, and the things that truly make you happy. And this shift is where the real magic happens. When you prioritize yourself, your energy changes. You exude confidence, independence, and control, not because you're pretending, but because you genuinely feel it. This energy is magnetic. Women can sense when a man is comfortable in his own skin, and it's that sense of self-assurance that draws them in. Now let's address a common misconception. Ignoring doesn't mean you're emotionally unavailable. Some men make the mistake of shutting down entirely, thinking that being distant or cold is the key to respect. But that's not the goal here. The art of ignoring is about balance. It's about showing that while you value the connection, you value yourself even more. This approach communicates that you're not afraid to walk away if the dynamic isn't healthy or balanced. Let's consider the psychological effect this has on her. When a woman realizes that you're not constantly seeking her approval or bending over backward for her attention, it forces her to reevaluate her behavior. She'll begin to notice the times you were present, kind, and attentive. The contrast between your attention and your absence creates a sense of longing. This isn't manipulation, it's human nature. People tend to appreciate things more when they're not always available. But what happens when she starts putting in more effort? This is the moment where many men trip up. They see her renewed interest as a green light to go back to their old ways of overinvesting. Don't fall into this trap. Instead, maintain the balance. Appreciate her effort, but don't overcompensate. Respond to her energy without overwhelming her with yours. This keeps the dynamic exciting and ensures that your attention continues to hold value. Over time, this approach not only builds attraction, but also sets the foundation for mutual respect. She sees you as someone who isn't afraid to prioritize himself, someone who knows his worth and won't settle for less. And let's be honest, who wouldn't respect a man like that? The beauty of mastering this art is that it extends beyond romantic relationships. The confidence and self-respect you cultivate will impact every area of your life, your career, friendships, and even how you view yourself. You'll find that as you stop seeking validation from others, you naturally attract people who respect and value you for who you are. So remember this: ignoring isn't about games. It's about showing that you're secure in yourself, that your life is already full, and that anyone who wants to be part of it has to meet you halfway. It's not about punishing her or withholding affection. It's about demonstrating that your attention is earned, not freely given. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of the curve. Most people never take the time to understand these dynamics, but you're here, learning and leveling up. If you found this valuable, subscribe to the channel and check out the next video for more strategies to elevate your relationships and self-confidence.